Okay, so which one of you degenerates took the shine out of Edward? Hey? Hey? Poor guy can't catch a break. Hello there my fellow degenerates, my name is Billy and welcome to the AVN channel's review of the Seven Realms Realm 1. Before we continue, I want to let you know that due to YouTube's tyrannical reign and forcing me to be censored, I'll now be referring to that one activity that two-part consenting adults can partake in as playing Mahjong from here on out. Also censorship. Much more censorship. Yay. The Seven Realms is developed by Sept Cloud Games and is released on Steam and is now in Realm 2, with Realm 3 in the making, but a warning about purchasing on Steam later. You can also get the most recent update on their Patreon, which is partway into Realm 3. If you want to see the reviews of these realms, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell notification, and if you enjoy this review, hit that thumbs up. If you have played the game, let me know in the comments, what do you think of it? Do you agree or disagree with what I say? Anyway, back to the story. Realm 1. Terran, or Earth for us mere humans, is a love child between Twilight and Underworld, but unfortunately the protagonist isn't Kate Beckinsale kicking ass in a skin-tight suit. Like seriously, Twilight. That's how you do sexy vampire, not this crap.
This is what I am. Shiny like a treasure from a sunken pirate wreck.
Instead, you play Atlas, a 2,000-odd-year-old Spartan-turned-vampire prince. Now, in the modern day, he stumbles across his bondmate. Essentially, a bondmate is like a soulmate if they was actually real and not something made up by our corporate overlords in order to sell flowers and chocolates on Valentine's Day. There are several mythical creatures in this universe, ranging from vampires, werewolves, pixies, witches, including the most mythical creatures, the human. Because in this story, they barely turn up, only as pets. Each creature has a bondmate. Once they find each other, they share this physical and emotional feelings to some extent, and depending on the creatures who are involved with the bond, this will differ. As soon as the MC finds his bondmate, he can tell something's different about her. He can smell it. Turns out she's tied to his world more than he expected. As the plot progresses, he discovers some truths that'll set him down a path that will take him around all the realms. However, don't get excited because you don't get to see much of the realms in this chapter, and this realm is Realm 1, Terran, so the sexy fantasy creatures can wait until later. Which for the MC is something to look forward to, because despite this being her first relationship, his bondmate is willing to have an open relationship because she knows full well that the MC is DTF just about anything. And hell, she even joins in sometimes. She really started off strong in the harem department this one. Really though, you can confess your love to her in one scene, and a few scenes go by and you just absolutely play the mahjong out of another woman and she's like, yeah, it's all good, well, I'll go chill over here with my friends and watch, you know? Yeah, you go girl, you know how to keep your man happy. Here, have a cookie. So far the story is interesting, but it took a while to get there. The first couple of hours seemed slow, but once it started picking up the main plot, I did start getting invested, and now I actually do when I get into the second realm. However, the pacing does seem off, with the constant time skips. A few scenes will play, then a few weeks later, and then another scene, and then a couple of days later. It's a good job the MC is an immortal being, because there's that many time skips in this game, a human will be an OAP by the end of the story. And not only this, but the vampire world seems very segregated from the human world. I understand keeping it a secret and whatnot like most vampire media does, but they do establish the king of vampires in fact runs the entire world and the human government pretty much answers to him, but there's very little interaction between the worlds beyond the vampires themselves. They speak of war breaking out and civil unrest among these creatures, but nothing ever seems to reach across to the human world. But don't worry, if it did, the MC would just rip them all apart. Actually, let's speak about the characters now, starting with the MC, Atlas, or whatever you want to name him. He's a vampire, and I'm not sure whose blood he's been drinking, but he looks, well, deformed. This motherfucker be 8 feet tall, and 3 feet of that is his neck. And I get it, he's a supernatural vampire, but his body just seems a little too disproportionate. He's also ridiculously cocky. He's got a Superman complex. You never have to worry about him coming into any harm, because if it's like he says, no one will try it because he's the vampire prince and daddy will bring his big army across. That's if he doesn't decide just to tear him apart first, because he's super strong. If any other character has a legitimate concern about safety, his response usually consists of, don't worry, daddy or me will kill them. It gets boring and annoying. Then you have his bondmate, and the first love interest of the story, Layala. Prior to meeting Atlas, she's never played Mahjong before. Despite this, she falls into the role very quickly. A guy who's been playing Mahjong for over 2,000 years seems to think a rookie player is great at it apparently. She wants to get stronger, but ultimately at this point she seems more of a burden to the MC and what he's trying to achieve. Then you got Zaire and Tasha. They're your two best friends.
Oh, friend!
Vampire.
Friend!
And they're also bondmates. But since vampires don't usually mind the bondmates having a game of Mahjong with other people, you best believe that Tasha and the MC are going to be drawing tiles like it's nobody's business. I think that's what you're doing, Mahjong. Anyway, Zaire is a general of your army, and Tasha is, actually I can't actually remember what she is, maybe security? All I know is that I want to play Mahjong with her. She's a hot red-headed Viking shield maiden. They look like they're going to take the main role of the story, but in comparison to some others, they do. However, once you meet Carly and Naya, this doesn't seem to be the case and they kind of take a back seat. So what about Carly and Naya? These are the next love interests you get introduced to, and they are bondmates. However, they don't seem to like each other too much, but you can't control who your bondmate is, so that's tough shit. Deal with it. Luckily for Atlas, they like playing Mahjong with both men and women, so... Wait, can you play Mahjong with more than 2 people? Yeah, I just checked. You can have up to 4 players. Anyway, Naya is the alpha of her wolf pack and only 19 years old, a pup as Atlas calls her. She's also an omen to the wolves, so she's constantly trying to prove herself. She's just too OP and can take out countless werewolves on her own. Carly, on the other hand, is a pixie, and a very aggressive, hot-headed pixie, and only true pixies have their markings apparently, so again, you can see she's going to be OP. And the next 3 love interests are Gina, Linguo, and May. I put all these 3 together as they don't seem to have a significant part just yet. It certainly looks like Gina will be taking a front seat, along with the other girls in the story, but at this point she's not been too significant. Lynn and May have played a small part in the story, and it looks like they may still have relevance in the upcoming realms, but a little compared to the other characters. But the opposite of them 3 is Lucius. He's not a love interest, he's a vampire king. He's daddy, and not in a Mahjong kind of way, but in a I'm gonna get my rich daddy to sort you out kind of way. But yeah, he's pretty damn powerful, and they let the realm slip in the recent years. By recent, I mean in the past 400 years, as his bondmate died and he blames himself. Speaking of his bondmate, this is Effie, the Queen of Pixies. So yeah, they were a proper power couple. I mean, Lucius even became the ruler of several realms with her by his side, but something occurred, she died, and now Lucius is lonely with only this hag called Ophelia to play with. I mean, I suppose Mahjong is Mahjong, right? These are, for the most part, the main characters that you're going to interact with throughout the Realm 1. There are more, but I don't want to go into that because I want to try to avoid deep spoiler territory. What I can say without spoiling too much though is that I don't really think the choices you make throughout the story have much impact on the story itself. It's just really who you play Mahjong with, which is a shame when visual novels do this. This is a great genre of video games making choices matter and can use that to great effect. It didn't seem to make a significant difference in the game though. And again, since this is a visual novel, what are the visuals like? Well, other than MC looking like a lumpy boulder with a long neck, they actually look pretty good. The worst thing about the models is the clothing. A lot of the times they don't seem to sit right on the character, especially the more baggy clothing, but the lighting looks good and the scenes and renders are clean, however there are some weird angles on some.
Dad, there's an evil monkey in my closet!
I don't care, son. I just do not care.
One thing I do dislike about the visuals is the UI though, and I mentioned this in my Eterna review, the importance of knowing which character is speaking. Well, in these renders themselves, the mouths rarely move, they do but not a lot. There's not much of a change to the focus of the character, and on top of this, the characters' names in the UI are only slightly larger than the dialogue font itself, and there's no change of font or colour. Every character has the same colour name, so you're constantly checking who's speaking because the renders rarely make it obvious. And the next big thing in adult visual novels, the animations. Again, not a fan. They can be good, but sometimes it can be a bit sluggish and slow, and they don't loop either. They're the back and forth thing I mentioned, so a lot of time you can tell an animation has come to an end as it just simply stops and then reverses, and it really isn't that smooth sometimes. And not only that, they are very, very short animations. Yeah, like I say, they loop by going back and forth, but that loop is very little. And then the jump between 2 characters speaking and being tile deep in Mahjong is so sudden. It doesn't show you getting the tiles out, shuffling the tiles or anything, just boom, Mahjong. Not only that, there's no animations outside of the Mahjong games themselves. There's a big fight sequence at one part. I would have loved to have seen it animated. Yeah, I understand it's significantly more time consuming to do a full animated scene like that, but watching 2 groups of supernatural creatures duke it out would have been freaking awesome. So ultimately, the animations are good, just not implemented very well. And not only this, there's no sounds to these animations. In fact, there's very little sound in the game at all, just the music. And there's not a huge variety there neither. It suits the game, but I feel like some scenes, a fantasy folk track doesn't really pair up with the action. And again, no sound effects. At all. As I mentioned about the fight scene a moment ago, yeah, it's not animated, but it doesn't even have the sound. When someone's getting punched, let me hear it. I want to feel that impact, or at least hear that impact. The beauty of this medium is the fact that you can have sound and visuals, and I will keep beating this horse. They really add to a complete experience. If you have access to these tools, then use them. But what about the mechanics? Surely it can redeem itself with that. Yeah, nah mate. There is none to speak of really. Like I said, I really don't think the choices have a huge impact on where the story's going, and so far there's no minigames. There was a sequence where a fight was going to happen. It's not the same as the last one I mentioned, it's a different fight scene, but even simply throwing in some quick time stuff here would have been great, but there's none of that. It's just a plain and simple visual novel. Nothing more really. That's not a bad thing, but it is lacking in it. But at least it doesn't waste time getting to the actual mahjong scenes. I mean, the second scene of the game shows Liana play mahjong with herself in a shower. So yeah, there's a fair bit of these. Flavour wise, they don't significantly go beyond vanilla. It could have had a bit of NTR, but the fact that Layala is straight up for an open relationship, even after seeing you kiss another woman behind her back, stops any chance of that. There's plenty of opportunities for group games of mahjong though, so that is a bonus. I mean, you know what they say about mahjong, the more the merrier. It's just the scenes themselves can be letdowns, to the point where I actually think mahjong could be more interesting than some of these scenes. So, to sum up, overall, the MC can be annoying, and most of the other characters are just OP, except Layala, who's about as useful as a chocolate fire guard. But the renders, they look good despite the animations and the sounds being a letdown. But remember, this is only round 1, the first part of what I presume is going to be at least a 7-part story. So if I wasn't a big fan of this game, why am I looking forward to round 2? Because of that, that's why. Well, I'm a degenerate, I play a cat girl in Final Fantasy XIV. Seriously though, why do I want to play on? Because regardless of its downfalls and the slow start to the story, it is still engaging. I want to see what happens next. Will Atlas ever lose? Nah, probably not. Will we save a certain individual from a certain fate? Maybe. Will we play mahjong with a cat girl? Hopefully. It's because of these pros and cons, I'm not sure whether to recommend this or not. I want to say yeah, because apparently it gets better visually wise in round 2, but I also hate saying play it now because it gets better later. Looking at you again, Final Fantasy XIV. If it's true that the animations and the visuals improve in the coming realms, then I'd have to say yeah, give it a try. But try and get it when it's on sale if you want it off Steam. But I want to preface this with a warning I mentioned earlier. When I purchased the game on Steam, it clearly stated on the page round 1 and 2. But when I purchased it and received the game, it was only round 1, so I had to still purchase round 2 as DLC. But we will be playing round 2 in the future, and I will also be reviewing that, so keep a lookout for that as well. But overall, it's an okay visual novel. However, I've seen a lot of people online stating that they absolutely love it, and maybe it's just that I've got bad taste, I don't know. Anyway, that's it for the 7 Realms Realm 1. I hope you have enjoyed it, and if you did, let me know. Hit that like and subscribe button now, and thank you for watching. Until next time, leave Edward alone, you damn degenerates.